My name is Scott, and I'm here today to talk to you about what you know as the Mandela Effect. And just to give you some background, for quite a few years I worked for a research organization in a lab, and without giving too many details, we worked on particle acceleration. And while that initially had nothing to do with why I'm making this video, it led to things happening to why I made this video. Basically, we were doing research, and there was a big team of us, 35, something like that, just on our little project. And eventually what happened was we started experiencing problems with memory. I guess I shouldn't say memory, but our recollection of when things happened started to differ. For example, a few of us would remember one thing happening at a certain time, and the others would remember the same thing happening at a different time. Now, working in a lab around scientists, we of course know that memory is not the greatest thing, but what was strange about it was that so many people who remembered wrong were remembering the wrong exactly the same. They're remembering the same date, but wrong, which is unusual, and which you've no doubt seen for yourself in this Mandela Effect. Now, as I said, our research didn't have anything to do with Mandela Effect. It was on something else. But once we started to realize that something was happening, there was probably about 20 of us, maybe 25 out of that 35, that really started putting some time into it. And we started realizing that things were happening more and more. The interval between our memory judgment, if you will, was getting closer together. So, this went on for about a year, and as you probably know, if you've experienced this, at first you're not really sure. You know, it's just like you misremember something. You don't. It's not. Let's put it this way: the truth is hard to face at first. It's confusing, and after a while, we figured out that this was definitely real. It was definitely happening, and a team was formed to actually look into it. I work for an NGO, non-government organization, that probably, I don't know, hundreds of people, but there was a small team put together that actually started looking at what we call timeline anomalies. And out of this team, there were quite a few of us from the original team. We just transferred over, and we spent a lot of time looking at all the effects that we had noticed, all the anomalies in our memories and when things happened. And it was probably in the middle of this that it was first brought to my attention about the Mandela Effect on the internet, online. And I talked with 3 or 4 of my fellow colleagues there, and we decided that we would start paying a lot closer attention. It was kind of strange, if you will. It was helpful to us that other people, being the public, had noticed, because now we knew it wasn't just us. It was other people. And much as the name for it comes from the differences, some people remember Mandela dying in the early 90s, and others much later than that. And we had kind of the same problems, just a little different, but same discrepancies. It wasn't the event that had changed, it was the time that had changed when the event had happened. So that's what we first started keeping track of. And I say it took us quite a few months to learn how to keep track of it. I'm not at liberty to say what we finally figured out, but I will say that those of you who are working on different ideas to keep track of changes, you're working on the right path. Just keep on doing what you're doing, and you'll get there. And that's helpful. Believe me, it's very helpful once you figure out how to track changes, and then you can see, what's going on. So I spent probably quite a few months on this team, and at that time I also spent all my spare time online, reading blogs and websites and comments and everything out there. And I came in contact with a guy named Tom. Now you probably know Tom from reading his blog. He blogs a lot about this, and I started to realize how important this was to people. I started to realize how many people had problems coping with it. Not necessarily because of their own issue, but because it was, I want to say, they felt alone, I guess. That there was no confirmation that what they're experiencing was real. And I know how that feels. Maybe not as terrible, because when we noticed it, there was more than one of us, and obviously we were in a group, and we couldn't talk to outsiders anyway about it. So it was very easy to talk amongst ourselves and then forget about it, and not be able to talk about it with others. But part of my reason for coming forward now is how many people, just like Tom, are experiencing these discrepancies, and not only just timeline discrepancies now, but other discrepancies as well, and basically getting ridiculed for it. If you've posted online about it, then you've probably gotten comments and replies. Some of them saying you're an idiot, and some of them just saying you're crazy. And so I thought it was important to help those people out, to give them the proof that they needed to say, I was right, I'm not crazy, these things are happening, and the confirmation of what they suspected all along, or knew all along. And I think that's very important. I have now resigned from the NGO I worked with, the group I worked with. As things started increasing, as the changes started increasing, I felt it was time to actually expand out a little bit, to maybe go fully public with it, to get more people involved. My colleagues didn't, and the people upstairs didn't, and so I was more or less, I won't say I was fired, but I was asked to resign. I was booted off the team, because I just kept bringing it up that, hey man, we need to get this out there. We need to start getting other people's input. My belief was that the public had a lot to bring to it. The public had a lot to bring to the research. These people were doing all kinds of research on their own, just as you've probably done. And I thought the more the merrier. The more people we have looking into this, the better off we are. It's my belief. I was disagreed with, obviously, and so I resigned. And that's okay. I'm fine. So, what I'm here to talk to you about today, regarding the Mandela Effect, is primarily my main goal is to get it out there more, to give some credence to everyone who believes, to give some proof so that people know that they're not alone, that this is really happening. It's not a conspiracy. It's not a bunch of people going crazy. It's not a bunch of people with bad memories. It's real. The changes that you have seen are real. And I know that many people have the problem. I don't remember, it's probably been a couple of years ago, but I remember, and it still happens where I see comments where you'll believe something has changed, maybe in a book, and people will come along and say, no, I've looked back 30 years when that book was published, and it's always said that. And of course, that's not how it works. That's not how the Mandela Effect works. And you know that, and I know that, but they don't. So hopefully this will help them understand exactly what's going on. I will say that we still don't know why. We still don't know the actual cause. I do believe that some of the stuff we were doing at the accelerator was, I don't know what was causing it, but it was increasing the interval at which it happened. And I don't know if it's still going on or if it's speeding up. I'm to the point now where I need to move on. So once I do these videos and do the stuff with Tom that we're planning on doing, I'm done. And what I mean by that is that I've come to a point where I don't need to know if something has changed. I don't care if something has happened at a different time. I don't care if a serial used to be spelled one way and now it's another. I don't care if a movie has existed and now it doesn't. It gets to be too much. And the reality is that it has a very small effect on your life unless you let it. And that's, I think, the key point. If you really start thinking about it, this is a big deal. And there's so many different ways this can go. And it just consumes you. It just consumes you. You will spend every spare minute you have trying to figure out what the hell is going on. How many times can things change and change back and revert to this? Why doesn't everybody believe me? Why doesn't everybody experience the same things? Why do people experience changes at different times, change backs at different times? It's just limitless, and it just consumes you, and it'll be your life. It was my life for a while, and I knew it was real. So I cannot imagine how people like Tom feel, who have spent so long working on this without any confirmation that it was actually true. And so that's my primary focus in doing this, is to give confirmation to those, and to get it out there. This is big. This is going to be one of those things that goes down in history that will change things forever. Probably the biggest scientific breakthrough the world has ever seen. Just in our understanding of the universe, how it works, how time is considered and measured, how we all came to be. It's just limitless. But it's not something that a few people can do. It's not something that one research organization can do with a team of 35. It's not something that one government can do. It's something that's going to require a worldwide effort, not just of governments, not just of NGOs, but everybody. It's going to require everybody putting forth some effort. And I think people deserve to understand this. It's life-changing. The problem is that it's too life-changing. As I said, you become consumed by it, and everything suffers because of it. Your work suffers, your relationships, your time, and it's important to get that back. So I'll tell you my plan for the future, and maybe this will help you. If you want to pursue it, great. There's no problem with that. But my plan for the future, I bought some acreage with a small cabin on it, and it's probably about 30 acres, I guess, a little under. It's got a pond on it, stocked with fish. I plan on spending my remaining days doing some other work and fishing and sitting in my little cabin and enjoying peace and quiet. And I'm okay with that. You know, I've decided that I've come to a point that I don't need to know that things change. It really has very little effect on my day-to-day life. It's, I won't say it's not important to me, but it's not something that's going to get my attention from now on. So once I've done this stuff with Tom, then I'm finished for the most part as far as research goes, as far as keeping up with it. I don't even plan to be on the internet most days. You know, I just plan on relaxing and enjoying myself. So I would encourage you that if you come to that point where it's consuming your life, then I highly encourage you to also back off a little bit. So, that being said, why is it still a secret? I think that the biggest reason it's still a secret is because there's no answers. The government doesn't have the answers. The research organizations don't have the answers. And I think that they're afraid. They're afraid of coming to you and saying, here's what's happening. It is real. Everything you think you know is probably true. And we don't know why. I think they're scared to say that. I disagree with them. I think the people are ready to know. I don't think there's going to be riots in the streets, mass suicides, any of that stuff. I think a lot of people won't believe it, and that's fine. You know, after all these years, there's still a lot of people who don't think we went to the moon. And that's fine too. It really has no effect. So I think a lot of people simply won't believe it. And for those people, they'll know no difference. You know, life will go on. But for the people that have already experienced it, this will give them confirmation. And for people who want to participate in their research, it's a great opportunity. I mean, they'll need every researcher they can get their hands on. And the possibilities for this are literally endless. You know, just wow. There's a lot of stuff that I haven't seen online that I know of, that we've discovered that's not quite made it online yet. And I'm not going to put it there. I haven't violated any agreement that I have, and I'm not going to. But it'll get there eventually. Other people, the public, you will find the same thing that we have. You'll talk about it, you'll put it out there, and it'll probably be the same way. Some people believe it, some people won't, but at least it'll be out there. So, I guess what I'm trying to show is that it's okay to believe this and still be normal. I guess it's a lot to wrap your head around, as some of you know. Especially harder for some of the stuff you don't know that you will know eventually. And it's just too limitless, almost too limitless to endure, to think about, to imagine, because there is no limit to what can happen with this thing. But I do think it's important we figure out why it's happening. If there's something that we're doing that's accelerating it, which I think there is, and there's a key word in there for you, in case you missed it. And I think it'll change humans. You know, this is something that affects all of us. It's something that may make the other stuff to us seem pretty petty. You know, the day-to-day disagreements over religion or rights, you know, the stupid violence that happens. Hopefully this will be something that everybody can get behind and say, you know, this is big, and we're better than this. And I guess if I was a New Age type of guy, I would say it's going to be an awakening. I don't like to use that terminology, but it's probably accurate as far as terminology goes. It's probably going to be an awakening. That everything you thought you knew, it may not necessarily be true. You know, you go through stages with this, and you just go through so many stages of emotions, depression, anxiety, excitement and wonder also at times. And I don't think right now that people are getting the support they need. So many people are going through that alone, knowing that you think something's changed, and knowing other people on the internet think something's changed is one thing. But having confirmation that you're correct, that you're not crazy, that's completely different. I think that's very helpful in coming to terms with the way you think about the world, the way you think about yourself. And so I hope that what I'm doing here today will give that to people, that peace of mind, and the understanding that they're okay, and life can go on, and you can still go buy groceries, and you can still go to work and ride the bus, and spend time with your family and friends. It's not something that's it doesn't have to interrupt your life so bad as it's done for so many people. And boy, there's just so much to talk about. As I said, everything I'll be discussing is perfectly okay for me to say from a legal standpoint. I won't say that people won't be upset that I'm saying it, but in talking with my attorneys, and we spent many months going over the papers, everything that I'm going to talk about is perfectly legal. I'm not violating any agreements. I'm not revealing something that's top secret or classified. If they had gotten earlier, it probably wouldn't be classified, but due to the nature of the way things worked out, it was not. Everything from now on is on that project, and some of that I do know, and I won't be sharing. Again, I'm not going to violate any agreement that I have, and I'm not going to break the law and tell you things that are confidential and top secret. Not because I don't think you need to know it, but at this point I'm not willing to quite risk the consequences of that. So I'm going to lose some friends over this. A lot of my colleagues will be upset. Some of them will be very happy. They won't be able to say that, but they'll be very happy that I've done this. And most importantly, I can sleep better at night. I will have lifted it off of my conscience, and I'll be able to sleep better. And maybe that's kind of selfish of me, but that's the way it is. I feel good about this. I really do. I think it'll help a lot of people and also bring some understanding. And so I feel good about it. And I don't think there's going to be many negative consequences to what I'm doing. I hope not. But I really don't. I think the public is... I give you more credit than what many governments and organizations do. I think you have it within you to be told something life-changing and still function. I don't think there's going to be a mass panic. I think that tomorrow you'll get up, you'll go to work, you'll talk about this, I hope. You'll come home, you'll cook supper, you'll help the kids with homework, you'll watch some TV, you'll go to bed, and you'll go back to work tomorrow. It'll be as life goes on. And if there's anything I can say that's in general terms, is that life goes on. No matter what happens, you still have to function day to day. And even as exciting as something is, that you learn about during the day, you still have to go to work. You still got to pay the bills. The mortgage company's still going to want their house payment, and the car company's going to want their car loan. So that part doesn't change. But I think for many people, they will be able to sleep better without worrying about their mental health, to be honest, whether or not they're actually going crazy or having severe memory problems. So hopefully this will accomplish that and really help those people. And that's the people that I'm really doing this for. People like Tom, who have suffered, let's be honest. And now he's got confirmation, and I know when I talked to Tom, the first time we met face to face, and actually confirmed face to face with him, everything that he was talking about. He was relieved, and he was a changed man. I can tell you, he was, boy, and I could see the weight just being lifted off his shoulders, and that made me feel really good. And so hopefully that's what this does for everybody, you know, for everybody out there who's looking at this. Maybe people who can't even share it because they're afraid of being ostracized. Hopefully that does this for you. To lift that weight off your shoulders and say, hey, I was right, and life still goes on, but it's something that we're going to look into. So that's my goal. And again, I'm not going to reveal anything that's confidential or national security wise. Anything that I've signed agreements on, it's not going to be revealed. But we can talk about a lot of stuff. And I'll have a whiteboard and some other stuff ready for the next video. And hopefully all this fancy stuff's working right. I can see her looking at me through the screen here. I guess I just need to close out now. Hopefully all this stuff's working right, and behind me you won't see a green screen, you'll see some kind of a fancy background or something. I don't know. That's up to her. But anyways. Alright, she's saying the signal, yeah, she's saying the signal's getting weak, so I gotta go. But the next video we'll have some whiteboard and stuff to go over. So, thank you. Alright. Yeah, I'll turn it on.